Well, the virus has now killed more than 100 people in China, and new cases have been confirmed around the world.
So you don't want to frighten the American public.
France and South Korea have also got evacuation plans.
But you need to prepare for and assume
strongly warning Americans to avoid all non-essential travel to China.
That this is going to be a real serious problem.
France, Australia, Canada, the US, Singapore, Cambodia, Vietnam, the list goes on.
Health officials are investigating more than 100 possible cases in the US.
Germany, a man has contracted the virus.
The epidemic is a demon, and we cannot let this demon hide.
Japan, where a bus driver contracted the virus.
Coronavirus has killed more than 100 people there and infected more than 4,500.
We have to prepare for the worst, always, because if you don't and the worst happens...
War Room Pandemic. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Well, a very good morning to you. If you're watching live, this is a special episode of War Room Pandemic, Hour 2, broadcasting live from the Trump International Hotel in downtown Washington, D.C., brought to you courtesy of the Falkirk Center's Freedom Summit, protecting the Republic from all enemies, foreign and domestic. They have a great day's program lined up for you, so make sure you're watching. And we want to thank our production partners at America's Voice, at the John Fredericks Radio Network, G News and GTV, blowing through the CCP's firewall to make sure that War Room Pandemic is available in mainland China, and also later on in the day on Newsmax. It's Monday, July the 27th, the year of our Lord 2020, episode 302. Jack Maxey, Stephen K. Bannon, and Raheem Kassam. Steve, why don't you kick us off here?
Well, I got to tell you, I want to thank Raheem for doing such a great job. Just because I came back for a couple of days doesn't mean I'm going to start taking over the hard duty of hosting this show. That's going to be yours. I want to thank really the Trump International Hotel, the Falkirk Center, Liberty University, everybody. This is a very special occasion. You know, Peter Navarro was saying, earlier that he's stunned when he sits there and sees these no signs in Portland, no signs in Seattle that are that talk about, CCP lied, Americans died, to talk about the Chinese Communist Party virus. Here, there's a real center with Charlie Kirk, Jerry Falwell, Dave Brat that's coming together to educate the American people on this existential threat of our time, which is the Chinese Communist Party. Our radio audience on the John Fredericks Radio Network can't see it. The AVN, our folks on Dish Channel and Newsmax TV and all of our streaming services can see that we're here at the Trump International in the major ballroom. It's a magnificent setup. In back of us is the world's media. We've got a lot of Chinese media here, and the reason is they thirst for the truth. It's going to be an incredible couple of days. I mean, we have some of the best voices and the most knowledgeable people. We wanted to start off and do something special with Peter Navarro. As everybody knows, Peter's been the real hawk on the economy. But later in the day, you're going to have a panel. You got Michael Pillsbury, who wrote the 100-Year Marathon, which is still the definitive book. That the 100-Year Marathon is really the definitive book that I think explains the Chinese war manual, which is unrestricted warfare. So you got Dr. Michael Pillsbury. You also have a close colleague, a dear friend, someone's on the show all the time. You're going to have General Robert Spalding, Stealth Wars. He's going to be on the panel also. And then on the same panel, you're going to have, I think, one of the unsung heroes of this entire effort, Bill Gertz, the author of, he's a Washington Times columnist and an investigative reporter. He's been doing this for 30 years. I believe he was the only journalist that went out with Mike Pompeo to the Nixon Library, that historic event out there, that speech, really on the 50th anniversary of Kissinger's secret journey to a trip to China to set up the Nixon meeting. But Deceiving the Sky is his book. So later this afternoon, you're going to have some of the top political voices in Washington, D.C. You're certainly going to have some of the top people that are really have been on this for a while. I'd like to call this, and I think the guys at the Falkirk Center, this is a gathering of the hawks. I mean, this is they're probably the most, I think, realistic, hardcore hawks, ultra hawks, super hawks, the people that, and to a person, what I find, and I'm so glad to be involved in this effort, in this movement, is their number one focus, guys, is the freedom of the Chinese people. That what we've allowed to happen, we've allowed the elites in this country to partner with this totalitarian dictatorship that has suppressed the Chinese people. And they've used it as an excuse, and you've seen this now in the kind of, if you look at, Richard Haas was on this morning on Morning Joe. I think John Hallman did a good rebuttal of him, talking about where really the Trump administration is and what the focus is. But the excuse for years and years and years, really decades, has been from the elites that, if the Chinese Communist Party wasn't there, that China would devolve into warlordism, it would devolve into chaos, it would devolve into anarchy, because the Chinese people are not ready for freedom. The Chinese people are not ready to govern themselves, right? And I think the most powerful thing that was said last week of Mike Pompeo was talking about unalienable rights, that the Chinese people's rights come from God. They don't come from the Chinese Communist Party. And you can see throughout the world, and I say, look, just the fact, and someone has been in and around China since the mid-1970s as a young naval officer on a destroyer in the South China Sea. But the key is that the Chinese people, when given rule of law, when given democracy, when given freedom, thrive, and we've seen that from Taiwan, we've seen it from Hong Kong and Singapore to the United States. They're some of the finest citizens you can have. And guys, I was on the boat when the first protests happened of the new federal state and the whistleblower movement at the embassy here in China, in Washington D.C., the Chinese embassy, and then at the White House. And now we're having footage up there, I think, throughout the program of these protests. Some of them live right now in France, in the United Kingdom, in Canada, as this protest goes on now for its 4th or 5th day of Chinese citizens standing up. Jack, I remember watching your interviews and watching your stream and hearing Jack Maxey say, here we'd had these protests in Washington, D.C., and understanding we have problems, have issues, you have to get to the bottom of it. But about peaceful protests, people spitting on police officers, throwing objects against police officers, and here you had Chinese expatriates and some Chinese American citizens, but they were giving water to the police. They were polite, and I checked throughout the world, whether it's Australia, New Zealand, South Korea, the politeness, the order, the dignity that they hold themselves and comport themselves, I think is for all of us. And that's why I'm so happy that we're here today to kick off a Freedom Summit, because at the end of the day, this is what it's about. It's about liberty, it's about freedom, it's about the rule of law. Guys, jump in.
Well, Steve, I just want to point something out. We did a special maybe a month or so ago now, and I talked about the moral imperative and the strategic imperative, and you turned to me and you said, wow, you sound a bit neocon-y there. Now, in this intro, in this hour, you have used the word superhawk, and you've used a very similar phrasing, that we used to be said about the Middle East. They can't govern themselves, and therefore, tell us just how is this different? What are we? Because a lot of people will hear that kind of rhetoric and think, oh no, these guys are saber rattling. They want a kinetic war with the Chinese Communist Party. I just want to clarify those points.
I think we have to come to the realization, and the mainstream media just hides this. As outlined in Unrestricted Warfare, which is a classic, and it's a little dense, but I've always recommended, if you don't read this, get 100-Year Marathon or Bill Gertz's book or Spalding's book to analyze it. There's 3 types of warfare. There's information/technology war, there's economic war, and there's kinetic war. The Chinese have been not in a Cold War. The Chinese Communist Party has been in an economic hot war with us for a couple of decades, in an economic or a technology and information propaganda war, a hot war. They're on the offense. And so we didn't ask for this war. In fact, we were the ones that actually, through, I think, our own foolishness and naivete, partnered with the Chinese Communist Party really in the late 90s and helped to build this, as Richard Nixon said, potentially a Frankenstein monster with our capital and our technology. So different than the kind of neocons that were going around the world looking for problems. This problem, and this is what Pompeo said, this is not like the Soviet Union, which is about the size of New York State and had an economy that was failing, right? Or that its economy was the size of New York State, an economy that was failing. This is already inside the wire. Right? This is inextricably linked with the party at Davos. This is about managed decline. It's the reason Donald Trump's president, right? The managed decline of the United States, working class people and middle class people rejected that in 2016. It's the reason Joe Biden runs around now trying to go to Scranton, Pennsylvania, and being a populist, being an economic nationalist. People understand you can't be a globalist in America and win here. I think this is fundamentally different than the neocons in the fact that we're not going around the world looking for monsters to destroy. This is a monster that's here. It's the reason your jobs are gone. And this is so important about this virus. And it's one of the touchstones of this entire summit. It's the reason that Dave Bratton, Jerry Falwell, and Charlie Kirk, we decided to have it in the summer with the heroic efforts of the Trump International Hotel and the people here, all the media people, the other people here at the center, to try to put it on in the middle of a pandemic. It's the reason we call this a pandemic. This is the Chinese Communist Party's virus. Okay, you're going to hear some voices. We have Dr. Yan and some other people are saying, hey, this is actually from a biological weapons program, a gain-of-function experiment that somehow got out of the Wuhan lab, right? But even if that, what Peter Navarro walked you through was their chain of custody of the decisions they made, that exacerbated this virus throughout the entire world. And now we're sitting with, as Southampton University told us, 95% of the deaths, 95% of the economic carnage could have all been avoided. This is going to have an impact on not just American life, but global civilization for decades to come. And it's now time we understand what the problem is. And that problem has to be eradicated. We can't do it. The Chinese people are going to do it. It's the Chinese people's, their struggle for freedom will be the defining event of the first half of the 21st century. And those who assist them in their freedom are going to be remembered in history on the right side of history. And this is why all the guys on Wall Street, all the guys in corporate America, when Bill Barr is sitting there saying you're collaborators and calling you out by name, when Bill Barr is saying you're guilty of appeasement, and when Bill Barr is then sitting there saying, hey, you better have your lawyer check the FAR requirements because I'm coming after you, every hedge fund, private equity firm, venture capital firm, all of Wall Street, the banks, the corporations, understand. If you've seen reconciliation projects in Africa and other areas of the world, there's going to be a reconciliation project here. Every penny you stole from the Chinese people, every penny that you partnered with the CCP, every penny you took out of China, it's all going to go back. Okay? That is the wealth of the Chinese people. Lao Baijing, old 100 names, that live in virtually abject poverty today, or some de minimis type of working poverty as slave labor to this Party of Davos business model. All of that's coming back. So I think it's different than neocons in the fact that it is inextricably in our lives here today and will destroy our freedoms. It's already destroyed our freedom. Look at this CCP virus. As Peter Navarro says, the Chinese Communist Party lied and Americans died.
Steve, we have about 2 minutes to the first break here. I just want to ask you then, both of you, Jack Maxey, jump in here as well. This paragraph jumped out at me from the Financial Times this week, and I want to get your feedback on it. Quote, although it was Russia that issued the most direct challenge to the Western-dominated international order with its 2014 annexation of Crimea, the Trump administration has since focused on China as its biggest threat, from trade to technology to military affairs. Now, I'm a fan of the Financial Times, and I know you are as well, and that's why that jumped out at me as particularly ludicrous and heinous. When you talk, Steve, about the people who are fighting back versus the collaborators, that is straight up collaborator propaganda.
I want to go back to you because this is the whole thing about the Ukraine. What we have said on the show when it started as War Room impeachment, the Ukraine and Russia, Ukraine's a sideshow to a sideshow. Russia's a sideshow. What you're seeing now, and this is what's so important, and this is why I'm so proud to be part of this Falkirk Center Freedom Summit. This is the Alliance of Liberty. If you see what's happening, it's on the Eurasian landmass. The CCP is the driver, but they have their partners in North Korea, Pakistan, Iran, Turkey, and Russia. But Russia's just a junior partner. And to make it like, and right there, that statement is absurd. That the Crimea is the central thing of the challenge to the West. I mean, Raheem, you reported on this years ago during the revolution in Ukraine about the EU trying to essentially get into the sphere of influence of Russia. This is what triggered all these problems, right? And I'm not defending Russia. Russia is now in the enemy camp. There's no doubt about it. And this is going to be the great struggle of the first half of the 21st century. And thank God you have people like this center and others that are waking up. What this is an education, I think C3, C4. They're here to awaken the American people. Corporations right now are woke on the Black Lives Matter issues. It's time you got woke on the slave labor and what you're doing to the people of China.
and we'll return with more War Room Pandemic. Got to get Jack Maxey in on this conversation in the next segment as well. Otherwise, the audience is going to be on full-on rebellion. Hashtag War Room Pandemic to have your say live in the live chat, on Parler, on Twitter. We monitor all of it. We'll be back. More Stephen K. Bannon, Jack Maxey, Raheem Kassam, War Room Pandemic in a second.
Uh-oh, there you go. Slow slicing fruits, veggies, and those stinky onions that bring you to tears. But not anymore. Introducing NutriChopper, the compact handheld speed slicer that cuts up to 10 times quicker than a knife. Watch. You can have one slice or 10 perfect slices at once. Amazing! You can just julienne, or you can bundle slice julienne sticks at lightning speed. With NutriChopper, you can slice the entire onion or mince a mound of onions and never have time for tears. Why slice a single apple wedge when you can wedge it all in one snap? NutriChopper comes with the razor-sharp interchangeable stainless steel blades you need to make all of the cuts you want, and all incredibly quick. Chop thick slices, chop thin slices, chop cubes, chop sticks, and wedge whole fruits and vegetables in just 1 second. Slice it and cook it right in the pan, right on your stove. Chop and slice right into the pot for a family-sized stew with no mess. Snap and slice a fruit salad for the kids right into the bowl in seconds. Slice up a healthy salad for a quick and easy meal on the go. Cube meats and cheeses quick, in a snap. And NutriChopper comes with a perfect portion container and fresh-keeping lid so you can slice it, seal it, and store it all in one. To clean, simply rinse or rack it in the dishwasher. Then lock it to store it safely in a drawer. And now the NutriChopper with the thin slice, thick slice, wedge, and cube blades, and the slice and store container and lid, a value of over $40, is yours for just $19.99. But wait! Order now and we'll even pay the shipping for you. You get the complete NutriChopper set with blades and container with lids, all for just $19.99 with free shipping. Here's how to order.
To order, call 1-800-927-4071 or go online at NutriChopper.com. That's 1-800-927-4071 or go to NutriChopper.com. Order now.
America's Voice News brings you real news and real opinion in a real world. If you care about this country, then you can help by sharing America's Voice with your friends and family. We're here to bring you the truth with no agendas. America is one of the greatest countries of all time. We need a great leader to keep us on track and safe. If you support this president, then help us by being a beacon of hope and standing up for this great nation. Join us as we fight to bring you the truth in a crazy world. Search America's Voice News on all apps, Roku, Pluto TV, and Dish Network Channel 219. Please help by downloading America's Voice News to your phone, on your smart TV. Search America's Voice on all your internet-connected devices. Then share the truth with your friends and family. America's Voice News, the real news network. Join the America's Voice revolution and consider yourself an American patriot.
War Room Pandemic with Stephen K. Bannon.
The epidemic is a demon, and we cannot let this demon hide.
War Room Pandemic. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Well, welcome back to the War Room, or the War Ballroom here at the Trump International Hotel in downtown Washington, D.C. We're kicking off the day, the first of a two-day summit here for the Falkirk Center. I just want to remind you about one of the sponsors of this show, NetSuite by Oracle. If you're going to succeed on the back of this pandemic, you need every possible advantage, and NetSuite by Oracle is one of those advantages. Smart companies run on NetSuite by Oracle, the world's #1 cloud business system. So get your free guide right now at netsuite.com/Bannon. You're back in the War Ballroom, as I say, for the first of a two-day summit, protecting the Republic from all enemies, foreign and domestic. And we have some phenomenal people over the course of the day. You can watch it all on americasvoice.news. I will be co-hosting the entire day's programming with Dr. Gina Loudon on America's Voice as well. I want to throw it now over to Stephen K. Bannon and Jack Maxey here.
Yeah, extraordinary day here at in Washington, D.C., Trump International Hotel, Falkirk Center. It's about liberty. It's about freedom. It's about the great existential threat of our time, the Chinese Communist Party. If I knew, by the way, guys, that I had to come off sea duty to come back here to actually take the mic away from Jack Maxey, I would have come back sooner. Just kidding, Jack. Jack, you've got some breaking news, and then I want to talk about, after the pandemic, I want to talk about the floods. What's the breaking news?
Well, you know, we've talked about how China has been covering this up, and we also talked about how the Chinese people are not responsible. But let's remember, the only way we learned about this was because of individual Chinese citizens who were responsible, not the government. Panorama News in England is going to be breaking a story with an interview this evening of a doctor, Professor Kwok Yung Yang, who's from Shenzhen province. And on January 12th, he diagnosed an entire family 700 kilometers away from Wuhan with the coronavirus. He informed Beijing immediately, and they did not tell the world that it was communicable for another 10 days. Now, he has joined the whistleblower movement. He is, like many Chinese individuals, he is coming forward. One thing that's very important that we remember Pompeo said the other day, the Chinese Communist Party fears their own people. Do you know why? Because they're starting to become informed. They're starting to understand this regime that lives over top of them like a shadow, watching their every movement. And now we're watching what's happening in China right now with the flood particularly, which we're going to get into shortly. But they are literally sacrificing the rural people of China by creating these giant floodplains so as to save the city of Wuhan. And it's a catch-22, but the Chinese people are really the victims here all the way around.
Steve, I got to tell you, Panorama is no joke, by the way. If you get a Panorama investigation into you, you better hold on to your seat.
But this is what I want to ask. This is breaking news on twofold. Number one, we have Dr. Yan is here in the audience, and tomorrow we're going to try to get her on the show. She's one of the first defectors away from Hong Kong in this case that has been calling this out in interviews with Fox News and other people. We have another defector now, it looks like, for the whistleblower movement. But the other buried lead is Panorama. I mean, Panorama, correct me if I'm wrong, is that not the most elite of the BBC shows?
That is their flagship investigation show, the top one in the country.
This is the equivalent of 60 Minutes doing it, correct?
Yeah, that's right.
So the BBC, which has not exactly been, I don't think, on the case of the Chinese Communist Party, and particularly the BBC's coverage in Hong Kong, I thought never really got to the heart of it. It's pretty big news to know that their investigative unit has now actually gotten part of the whistleblower movement and saying this. The other thing, guys, you remember, and what Dr. Navarro was saying, the time they're talking about that is at the same time with the Chinese Communist Party, knowing that the Taiwan CDC told them told WHO and also informed others in Hong Kong and other places that there was human-to-human transmission in late December. This time, and I guess it's in mid-January, Jack, is around the time that the delegation was here signing the trade deal. And Peter Navarro brought it up. He said, hey, he shook the president's hand. Right? We had dinners together. We hung out. We basically were cheek by jowl for 3 days. Never mentioned one word about what they knew. And we know that General Secretary Xi knew about this because he was coming under pressure. As you remember, Jack and Raheem, he was coming under pressure for Hubei and Wuhan getting out of control. He copped to the thing that he had a senior cadre level meeting in the first week of January to tell him it's human-to-human transmission. It's community spread. We have a problem in Wuhan. We have a problem in Hubei. This doctor today is going to be, I think, a major, write it down. This is going to be a major, I think now the media is going to be forced to, once BBC does it, CNN, PBS, the New York Times, all of that will start to, now they'll start to fall in line and be able and be forced to take this seriously.
He's also accusing them of a cover-up where the Wuhan wet market is concerned. He claims that by the time they got there to investigate it, that the entire thing had been thoroughly scrubbed. There was nothing to investigate, that the local authorities had bleached the entire thing down. So any discovery from the Wuhan market has to be taken as very suspect after that date.
Well, this goes back to what Miles Gore said about the 5 kills, the 5 strategies to keep the Chinese people down. The people at G News, GTV, and the whistleblower movement said immediately when the videos came up of the Chinese eating bat heads, right? That came up instantaneously. They said that's what the CCP does to take take the spotlight off them and also show the Chinese people, look, the rest of the world thinks you're uncivilized, right? We're here to protect you. They think you guys are barbarians. We're here to protect you. Now you're seeing, right, that he's coming out and saying there was a cover-up. And the cover-up is they wanted to get everything out of that Wuhan market so people couldn't go back there and say, well, hey, I don't think it originated from here, right? That's why they had to do it. Raheem.
Well, so this afternoon in Eastern Coast time, which will be when Panorama airs tonight, I mean, this will be a real sea change moment if the BBC plays it down the line. We may end up with a situation where the BBC decides its editorial position is, as it has been for the past couple of years, more towards the Chinese Communist Party propaganda line. But I have to say, you have seen a shift in tone. The British ambassador from China to the Court of St. James was on the BBC recently. That's where the Harvard study was cited, and that's how we got into the detail on the Harvard study. So they are, the CCP ambassadors are getting chopped up by the BBC at the moment. We'll be paying very close attention tonight to what the questions are from the BBC and how they actually portray this interview.
I want to turn to Jack. We couldn't get a chance with Peter Navarro, but in his book, The Coming China Wars, he goes through the disaster the building of these dams has been. Remember, the Chinese Communist Party is trying to weaponize water. What they're doing is that's why they built these dams, the Mekong River, these other great rivers of Asia. All headwaters are all in the Himalayas, all in Tibet. This is why they're occupying Tibet, is because they want to keep control of those waters, and they've weaponized it. The mistakes they've made in the Yangtze, right, with these dams is chilling. The footage, I don't know if we've got some of the footage up there, but the footage has just been unbelievable that we've shown over the weekend and shown on the Saturday show. But I got to tell you, every day this gets worse, and now they're really, Jack, getting into the rainy season.
They are. In fact, over the next day or so, they're going to see as many as 10 to 15 inches of rain below the Three Gorges Dam. So when you look at the lower Yangtze, we talk about the lower and the upper Yangtze, really we're talking about below Three Gorges Dam and above Three Gorges Dam. Both areas are in an absolute flood stage. They say Chinese media this morning is reporting that 61 million cubic meters per second are flowing in behind the dam. Now, if
hold it. Give us that number again.
61 million cubic meters per second. Now, if the dam were to open up every single one of its gates, the dam can release 110,000 cubic meters per second. That would mean the immediate end of Wuhan. Currently, right now, they are doing a balancing act where they are trying to release just enough to keep the water from overflowing the banks in Wuhan City. Currently, the river is about 25 feet above the street level of Wuhan, and it's about 2 feet below the wall itself. We are looking at a potential absolute disaster. And one of the things that people have to understand, when you take a modern megacity and you put it under 27, 30 feet of water, that means that every single underground pipe, communication system, your sewerage, your fresh water, your subways are all completely filled with
Peter
debris.
Navarro, the reason this is important for you at home and the AVN system and Newsmax is that when that wall of water goes down the Yangtze River Valley, it's going to wipe out, I think, 60 or 7% of API, of the active pharmaceutical ingredients manufacturing, generic drug manufacturing. We are going to now pay for what people have been warning about, Peter Navarro, since 2006, shipping the medical supply chains to China under the control of the Chinese Communist Party, their irresponsibility. This historic biblical flood is going to have an accounting at the end of the day. And the Chinese people, what's heart-rendering is just the lack of support they're getting from the Chinese Communist Party. They're really on their own, and some of this footage has been unbelievable of these barges of people trying to escape and just seeing the complete catastrophe. So if you want to see the true face of the Chinese Communist Party, between the pandemic, their insensitivity to the world of the pandemic, and now what's happening in this flood is incredible. And hey, this flood, I believe this flood can have as big an impact on American life here in the United States as the pandemic did.
Well, and they're also saying now that 48 million people have been displaced so far because of the flood. Nomura Securities this morning announced that they said the third quarter for China is also going to be negative. So, and it's because of just the displacement of these 48 million people. Remember, a week ago, they were saying that only 4 or 5 million people have been displaced. Yeah. Interestingly, still only 150 dead and missing.
Raheem, take us out.
Well, in the next couple of segments, we'll be joined by Miles Guo, one of the key victims of the Wu Mao army and the sock puppets. This is the Stanford Internet Observatory report that I'm holding up right now, showing how much tech activity surrounds misinformation coming out of the Chinese Communist Party. India this morning as well, banning a further 47 Chinese Communist Party linked apps, including a TikTok clone. They banned 59 Chinese apps previously. We'll talk about all of that and more when we return with more #WarRoomPandemic.
Tired of struggling with regular mirrors that don't adjust so you can't get close enough? Need both hands but you don't have a stand? Can't move in the right direction to see your own reflection? You need Flexible Mirror, the bendable, light-up magnification mirror that comes to you. Watch. Just stick it on and turn the base. The super suction locking mechanism means you can put it on any smooth surfaced place, horizontal or vertical. Lock it onto any mirror, table, or desk. Use it in the shower, even on a window. The secret is Flexible Mirror's super strong articulating arm that's attached with an ingenious ball and socket so it can swivel and rotate for the perfect angle. And look how strong it holds. The mirror is precision crafted with 10 times magnification and crystal clear optics. And with a soft glow LED ring, you'll get picture-perfect lighting to highlight every detail. Flexible Mirror makes shaving, applying makeup, hairstyling, grooming, and accessorizing easier than ever before. Plus, men, listen up. The 10 times magnification makes it perfect for giving your beard a detailed trim. Whatever you need to do, Flexible Mirror comes to you. Plus, the contemporary chrome accents add a lovely modern touch to any room. Stop struggling to put in your delicate contacts and let Flexible Mirror come to you, so it's much easier to do. Similar mirrors can cost as much as $100, and they don't even come to you. But you can get Flexible Mirror for the special TV discount price of just $19.99. We guarantee you'll love the Flexible Mirror so much that it comes with our 90-day, no questions asked money-back guarantee. And here's the best part. We give you free shipping on your entire order. That's right, free shipping. Here's how to order.
To order, call 1-800-987-6183. That's 1-800-987-6183 or order online at tryflexiblemirror.com.
My son needs this drug. I hope it doesn't cost too much. I hope my insurance pays for it. Can you tell me how much this will be?
$67.
Sorry.
Wait, have you heard about GoodRx? GoodRx finds free coupons to help you save up to 80% on your prescriptions.
Wow. I had no idea.
GoodRx. Stop paying too much for your prescriptions.
This is Kate.
Hey.
She takes 2 prescriptions. Kate's son Jack takes 1 too. Kate works hard and thought she had good insurance. But she still pays too much. That's no good. So Kate downloaded the GoodRx app. Now she can compare prescription prices to find the best discounts. She even beats her insurance price. Good for you, Kate. Good for you. GoodRx. Stop paying too much for your prescriptions. Download the free app today.
War Room Pandemic with Stephen K. Bannon.
The epidemic is a demon, and we cannot let this demon hide.
War Room Pandemic. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Well, 2020 has been a gut punch to American business, and if you're going to succeed, you need every possible advantage. NetSuite by Oracle is the world's #1 cloud business system and a sponsor of this show. Smart companies run on NetSuite because it gives you the visibility, control over your financials, your HR, your inventory, your e-commerce, and more. Basically, everything you need all in one place. It lets you manage your company with precision. Whether you're doing $1 million or hundreds of millions in sales, you'll have the agility to compete with anyone, work from anywhere, manage your whole company right from your phone. So join over 20,000 companies who trust NetSuite to make it happen. They actually surveyed hundreds of business leaders, assembling a playbook for free that you can look at. The top strategies those companies are using as America reopens for business. So get your free guide, 7 actions businesses need to take now, and schedule your free product tour at netsuite.com/Bannon. That's netsuite.com/Bannon. You're back in the war room on the road at the Trump International Hotel in downtown downtown Washington, D.C. Raheem Kassam, Jack Maxey, and Stephen K. Bannon is back with us on land today. Steve, the first time I ever walked into this ballroom here was about 6 months before the election. The president himself, or the candidate Trump, actually walked a bunch of us around here, and it was a shell. And he said, hey, it's going to be open in a couple of months. It's going to be the biggest, the most beautiful ballroom you've ever seen. And I thought to myself at the time, nah, there's no way this is going to get pulled together. I mean, it was a shell, but it is absolutely beautiful in here, and they've done such a great job. We're all social distancing here, and the production team and everything has been magnificent.
No, he's pulled it off. It's a magnificent facility. We really want to thank the people at the Trump International, also the Falkirk Center. It's their Freedom Summit today. This is really to educate the American people, and through our distribution partners, people throughout the world, about the great struggle of the Alliance of Liberty has against the Chinese Communist Party and what the Chinese Communist Party has done to their citizens and now done to people throughout the world. Before we get to, we're going to try to get Miles Guo on the boat to do an interview if we could hook up. But before we turn to Miles, Jack, you've got some additional breaking news?
Well, some interesting things coming out of Hong Kong. They've seen a spike in cases. So starting Wednesday, they are making a ban of more than 2 people getting together. That would constitute an illegal act. Everybody must wear a mask starting Wednesday, and all bars and restaurants are going to close again. Now, this is interesting because
So they're essentially going to another virtual form of lockdown.
Yes, a virtual form of lockdown. It's interesting that they have a thing about 2 people meeting, particularly with all the protests we've seen in Hong Kong. But what's also interesting is you had somebody in the People's Daily this morning said that from now on we will be under constant shadow of the epidemic. Like on rainy days, we have to spare one hand holding the umbrella and continue working using the other hand. So I think that also what we're seeing here with the spike in Hong Kong is this acknowledgement around the world that perhaps this thing is going to be with us for a while, and we're going to have little hot spots come back and forth over time.
I want to turn now. Do we have Miles? Miles, can you hear us on the vessel?
Yes, sir.
Yes, Stephen King. Jackie, how are you?
So we're doing great. Thank you for calling on. Listen, Miles, we started the show today with going around the world, from South Korea to Australia to Canada, the United Kingdom, France, and we were able to get actually an interview with Tex from New Zealand about Chinese expatriates, people who are now maybe citizens of these countries. They've gotten citizenship, they've got passports, but they're all protesting. It's a combination of the whistleblower movement, the new federal state of China, and others. They're all protesting outside of Chinese embassies and Chinese consulates. And what they're saying is that the CCP lied and Americans died, or CCP lied and Australians died. CCP lied and Englishmen died, or the French died. Why is this being driven? When we sit here, we just had Peter Navarro on. When you look at Seattle, you look at Portland, you look at these protests around our country, our media is not pointing the finger to the Chinese Communist Party. We just found out that the Panorama show on BBC is going to have an interview later with a whistleblower. But the mainstream media has not been doing this. It's really come from GTV. It's come from you. It's come from Dr. Peter Navarro, pointing the finger at what the problem is, pointing the finger. So talk to us about why did these demonstrations already happen? We had one take place 4 weeks ago in the United States outside the Chinese embassy. Now it's expanded throughout the world. What is driving these protests, these freedom protests outside Chinese embassies and Chinese consulates throughout the world, with people shouting, the CCP lied, people died, or down with the CCP?
Thank you, sir. I'm really proud of joining the War Room. Today I see you go back to DC. You know, in the Trump President Hotel, as this very beautiful. Also today is a big day in the world. Australia, New Zealand, also Canada, Japan, UK, French, South Korea. Everywhere is the new federal state. We are Chinese, and all the officially Chinese is a protest. Use the Peter Navarro is the slogan. CCP lie is world people die, American people die. That's very powerful. because the Chinese now is very, very important is to face the truth. That's always you and me, we talk. I hope American also can face the truth. Now it's everybody talking coronavirus, but nobody asking coronavirus where from. Every talk is how many people get infected, how many people die, but nobody like to ask where from the coronavirus. Who make the coronavirus? Why as American media, all the world media, all the governments don't like to face the truth? Why? That's important. You look at Canada, you look at the UK, you look at the French, you look at South Korea, you look at Japan. All the government, the police try to stop. We are federal states, people go to protests, give the world try, burn the truth. But it's the CCP is a huge power in any country. Try, is it the police, stop, we are protests. That's a democracy west the world. But now we can shoot the world. What does happen? CCP lie, the world people die. You how can stop the die? Find out the truth. How can find out the truth? Government need action. Cannot only talk and work, paper and speech and just give say, oh, it's the bureaucracy talk. Please, sir, war room, and you are do good job. You risk a lot of people, wake up a lot of people. How can solve the problem? Only one, find out the truth. Where from the coronavirus? Who make the coronavirus? It's from natural, it's from the land, it's man-made, it's from the animal. That's easy, American do. Also another side, sir, you know, China, all the problem is from the Cultural Revolution before. Now it talk Pumper Harvard. This is Pumper Harvard. This is a lie. Why is it the propaganda? Also they talk, oh, we are this now is maybe somebody stabbing the people. No, everything is propaganda. They cheated the world. America now have big trouble. Media and Wall Street still control the media. Don't want America to know the truth. That's American second disaster, sir. Thank you.
Miles, I want to ask you, we have said, you know, Secretary of State Pompeo said, look, the World Health Organization, other people are starting to demand that they get access to these labs, access to these scientists. We now know that Panorama's talking to a scientist. Dr. Yan is around. Hopefully she's going to meet some of the media. You have other defectors we know in Europe. Should the United States and others demand, and what I've been saying is give them 72 hours to give full access to an international consortium that would get access to every scientist, every gain-of-function experiment, every animal species they had there, all the emails, all the communications, everything. They would actually get all access in 72 hours, or the United States would drop the hammer, cut them off from the dollar, sanction the financial institutions, sanction Wang Qishan, General Secretary Xi, sanction all of them, and actually break the Chinese Communist Party until they turn over this information. Because as Mao and Deng Xiaoping said, truth comes from facts. Until we get the facts, we're not going to know the truth. Miles Groh, your comments.
Yes, sir, 100%. I think America need to do this. Even don't do this, America no more time. More people get die, more people get infected. That's 100% correct. They need quickly to action to really, to do. But this is not enough. Dr. Yan come in America is give American spread all the truth about the coronavirus in Hong Kong, P3. What does happen? Also, WHO is the cheater all the people, gave the fake information, cooperated with the PLA, biological weapon army, and is the Wuhan P4, the lamp, all the truth. They see because the whistleblower gave you American the truth, they lose everything. Even now, American government don't do anything. No more people talk about Dr. Yang. What does it have? What does happen in the P3 lamp and the P4 lamp? That's too ridiculous.
After this, I think a lot of people get into trial. It's a criminal. You don't work efficiently, find out the truth. You don't face the truth. You bureaucracy. You don't like the face the true information that can kill more American people. That's I like it. 72 hours must be warning. Give the CCP. You must be give America what has happened in the P3 Hong Kong land, and what has happened in the Wuhan P4 land. What has happened? Xi Jinping make the decision, any document, and I think America need a red note. 2 is every work in P4, P3, the iceberg must be give all the America all the information. You know, sir, somebody now in the UK, in the Europe, it's from the army side. They try to give Americans some of the true information from the government. They make the decision. They made the biological weapon because they look American government not seriously think solve the problem. They look at Dr. Young in America. Nobody respect. Only Fox talks 001% the truth. But they don't trust America because America not seriously action. That's the problem. Dr. Young, in this here, ask what does happen? What does happen? Give her, show all her half of the data, evidence. What does real happen in the P3 Hong Kong land? The Hong Kong P3 land can be coronavirus. That's why, sir, very important. American face the truth, find out the truth.
For 1 second, we got to go to now. Know how Maria Bartiromo feels when I'm on there.
Think about
Miles,
how I feel.
Thank you for. Well, hang on 1 second. We'll come back to Miles the next thing. What Miles is saying is also, I think something's been added today for my give him 72 hours. He's actually saying give a red notice to every scientist, every lab technician, anybody associated with the Wuhan lab, the P4 lab, and even the P3 lab. They should get a red notice that they're on notice to come forward immediately, or they're going to fight criminal activity. Raheem?
Well, we're going to go to a quick break now. More from Miles Grove, Stephen K. Bannon, Jack Maxey when we come back with more War Room Pandemic. Want to let the audience at home know you can subscribe on YouTube, on all the podcast platforms as well. Every subscription helps us reach more people. Hashtag War Room Pandemic returns in just a moment.
Stay tuned to get a free pan from Granite Stone. Stuck on eggs, burnt on batter. You can scrub and scrape, but you can't escape the nightmare of your sticky pans. Introducing the Granite Stone Pan, the all-new durable non-stick pan. No butter or oil needed. Watch, we melted down these sticky candies in Granite Stone, and it just doesn't stick. We cooked a half a dozen eggs, bacon, cheese, and tomato breakfast with no butter or oil, and it just doesn't stick. Look, caramels, chocolate, and cheese. Unreal for any other pan, but not for Granite Stone. It just doesn't stick. Granite Stone will be the last pan you'll ever need because it's pressed from a solid aluminum disc for even heat conduction, then coated 3 times with our durable Granite Stone finish. Granite Stone is metal utensil safe and won't scratch. And talk about non-stick. This salmon cooked skin side down with no added butter or oil just doesn't stick. This steak is perfectly seared just like the pros. And because Granite Stone is oven rated to 500 degrees, we bake this upside down pan pizza to perfection, and it just doesn't stick. Fire Flambe Delicious Cherries Jubilee. Plus it's PFOA free and 100% dishwasher safe. Call or go online to get your Granite Stone pan for the special TV discount price of just $19.99. Granite Stone is so durable it comes with a 10-year warranty. And with every order, you're going to get a Granite Stone single-serve egg pan absolutely free. It's the perfect size for personalized eggs, omelets, or frittatas that slide right out. It makes the best bacon, egg, and cheese sandwich quick. Yours absolutely free. We'll even ship your entire order free. That's right, free shipping. You get it all, an incredible value. Here's how to order.
To order, call 1-800-850-0237. That's 1-800-850-0237, or order online at buygranitestone.com. That's 1-800-850-0237. Call now.
America's Voice News brings you real news and real opinion in a real world. If you care about this country, then you can help by sharing America's voice with your friends and family. We're here to bring you the truth with no agendas. America is one of the greatest countries of all time. We need a great leader to keep us on track and safe. If you support this president, then help us by being a beacon of hope and standing up for this great nation. Join us as we fight to bring you the truth in a crazy world. Search America's Voice News on all apps, Roku, Pluto TV, and Dish Network Channel 219. Please help by downloading America's Voice News to your phone, on your smart TV. Search America's Voice on all your internet-connected devices. Then share the truth with your friends and family. America's Voice News, the real news network. Join the America's Voice revolution and consider yourself an American patriot.
War Room Pandemic with Stephen K. Bannon.
The epidemic is a demon, and we cannot let this demon hide.
War Room Pandemic. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Welcome back to a very special episode of War and Pandemic, episode 302, broadcasting live from the Trump International Hotel in downtown Washington, D.C. as part of the Falkirk Center Freedom Summit, protecting the Republic from all enemies, foreign and domestic. And there's a whole day worth of programming here for you guys today. Make sure you're checking that out on America's Voice. Also, Steve?
Yeah, Jack, you get breaking news. What, gold is up $32 today?
Gold's up $32 today. It looks like it could break $2,000 this week.
We are so glad to have Birch Gold as one of our sponsors. Gold's on fire. I don't want to say it got really hot when they came on as a sponsor, but Raheem, tell us how people can get access to Birch Gold.
Well, that's right. The company we trust with the purchase of precious metals is the Birch Gold Group. And right now, thanks to a little-known IRS tax law, you can actually move your IRA or eligible 401k into an IRA backed by physical gold and silver. It's perfect for those who want to protect their hard-earned retirement savings before any more downturns in stock. So you can contact Birch Gold Group to request a free info kit on precious metals. See if diversifying into gold and silver makes sense for you. It's a no-cost, no-obligation kit. All you need to do is text Bannon, B-A-N-N-O-N, to 474747. For a limited time, you can see how you can qualify for up to $10,000 in free precious metals on your purchase. Text Bannon to 474747. Steve?
Look, with the Falkirk Center, we want to thank AVN. All day long, you're going to be getting this program. Remember, today we started with protests throughout the world in about 10 cities, backing up the new federal state of China, the whistleblower movement, and saying the CCP lied, people died. We have Peter Navarro. We have Miles Grove. Miles is going to join us back here in a second. He's going to be back with us tomorrow. Later, at the end of this, you got Gordon Chang, the great analyst with Kevin Friedman, Economic War Room. You've got Senator Tom Cotton later in the day. That's right. Michael Pillsbury, Bill Gertz, General Spalding. This is a who's who. This is Murderers Row. This is the 27 Yankees of the Hawks. These are the people, both Chinese citizens, Chinese expatriates, and American citizens that are confronting the Chinese Communist Party as the existential threat of the day. I want to thank the G News and GTV crowd. Got Luda, the great show host, is here today with the entire G News team. It's been fantastic. Miles, you're going to join us back again tomorrow, but I want to bring something. I want to ask you a question. Everybody's talking about, Dr. Navarro talked about it. We did a show the other day. The biggest buzz I got was from all this about the Yangtze River. People are very concerned in America about these dams collapsing and about this flood taking out major manufacturing, the medical supply chain, but also when they show these videos, the agony of the Chinese people. Can you tell us all, what is the Chinese Communist Party doing anything at all to help the citizens along in Wuhan, these other great Chinese cities, combat this historic biblical flood?
Yes, sir. CCP always have a super genius solution solve any disaster for me is the give Chinese. They have a good solution. Same the last 70 years. In CCTV website, they always talk this solution. China this year, agriculture is a bumper Harvard. The always solution is the propaganda, cover the truth. Oh, this year, don't be worried. No any disaster as from the natural side. Don't be worried. We cannot starving is the people.
Same with the Cultural Revolution as the great lead forward. Great lead forward, same as the 40 million, 80 million people, because starving people to die. They say, no, we are it's the same per Harvard. So now, same solution, cover the truth. Propaganda, same with the coronavirus. Sir, what does happen, coronavirus? Cover the truth. Propaganda, that's from animal, from the boat, from the fish, from the nature. Do you believe this? Now, if American media, some people still follow the CCP propaganda, always trust CCP, the data, that's ridiculous. You look at 3 golden time, it's the 2 dangerous now. Every day, every hour, you know, from inside, give a lot of as video. It's the natural life of the radio. How many people die? How many car, house get, fallen? It's get killed and get covered. That's a disaster. Nobody talk the word. How many people die? How many car? How many house? How many car? The government apartment get fault, disappear. Nobody tell the truth. They solve the solution only one. Propaganda, cover the truth. Same with the coronavirus. That's why Americans need perfect courage. Face the truth. Ask CCP. Don't trust the CCP any propaganda. Don't trust the CCP the data. Same thing. Now in the 3 golden stand area, 100 million people, maybe next hour, I hope not happen. It's die by the fault. That's crazy, sir. This American use this all the video live. Same with the war room do the job. Good video. You can now CCP all the solve the solution is the make a lie, cover the truth, propaganda, sir. Thank you.
Miles, thank you very much. Miles Guo will return and join us tomorrow on War and Pandemic. I want to thank the Falkirk Center. I want to thank Liberty University. I want to thank everybody associated with this, the Trump International Hotel. Like I said, stay tuned throughout the day. The best is yet to come. You start with Navarro, freedom fighters throughout the world, Miles Guo. We still have Tom Cotton to go. We still have Michael Pillsbury, Bill Gertz, General Spalding, many others come. Senator Cruz is going to be here tomorrow. Immediately following our show will be the Economic War Room with Kevin Freeman and, of course, the one and only Gordon Chang. So, guys, I tell you, it's a packed day. And plus, you're going to have Gina Loudon, who's a genius, and Raheem Kassam are going to be your co-host throughout the day. So it's going to be fantastic. Raheem, Jack, anything else before we wrap here?
Yeah, I mean, Paul Gosar, Jim Jordan, Andy Biggs, it's Jim Banks, Dan Crenshaw. It's just an all-star cast here today. So I want to make sure people are paying attention to America's Voice and checking everything out. Jack, we'll be watching the Panorama interview later on today.
Yes, and also I want to say to our audience, we're watching the world awaken, and you are all part of this. This is a global effort of the deplorables standing up for freedom and standing up for the Chinese people. China, we love you. We got your 6, and we're here fighting every day on the War Room for a free China.
Want to thank Lao Beijing, G News, GTV, Miles Guo, all of it. We'll see you back here tomorrow with Luda, the entire crowd on War Room Pandemic.
Everyone loves the benefits of compression socks, but they're just so hard to get on. Until now. Introducing the all-new Copperfit Energy Socks, redesigned for the first ever easy on, easy off fit to help reduce swelling, relieve tired, achy muscles, and provide energizing support. A new blend of stretch fabric for the most comfortable, easy on, easy off compression fit.
Being a SWAT commander, we train to win. The Copperfit Energy Socks